All right, so from one test to the other as we stay with cricket right here on the SportsMax zone. Opener Mikhail Louis and Athanaze were the stars with the bat for West Indies on day one of the first test against Bangladesh being played at the Viv Richards Stadium in Antigua and Barbuda. The pair shared a 140-run fourth wicket partnership led by the Kitishan, who fell 3 runs short of his maiden century, while the left-handed Athanaze was dismissed for 90 as West Indies ended the day on 250 for 5. The Windies fell to 25 for 2 early in the first session, losing skipper Craig Brathwaite and Casey Carty. To pick up the Bangladesh bowlers so far, that's Taskin Ahmed. Kavim Hodge shared a 59-run third wicket stand with Louis before being run out for 25. Justin Graves 11 and Joshua De Silva 14 will resume the Windies innings on Saturday. Well, Nikhil Chandani, he was on commentary during the day and he joins us for the review. Nikhil, happy you could join us this afternoon. How are you? How was today?
Yeah, Maria, it was really good. Obviously, I think anytime, because we play so few test matches as a nation, anytime there's an opportunity to have test cricket in the Caribbean, I think it's always good. And look, bittersweet day. I think probably the West Indies still take a slight advantage because they lost the toss. There is moisture in this surface because of all the rain we've had in Antigua. And 250 for 5, I think they'll reflect on it and think they're slightly ahead. However, Bangladesh have kept the scoring rate to below 3 runs and over, so they'll also feel like they're still in the game.
Yeah, I think I want to start from the top of the innings, if I may. So that means I'm going to start by talking about Craig Brathwaite and that 4 runs from 38 balls. Let's start there. What made you of, the approach, the score, the fact that people are continuously discussing that he's not giving us the numbers that we're used to?
Well, I think Bangladesh couldn't have come at a better time for Craig Brathwaite, given that he averages 45 against them and also averages close to 50 at this stadium as well. So he'll be hoping in the second innings he gets runs. Yeah, obviously at the start, in that first hour, he was able to get through it. And there was a clear approach from both him and Louis, which was to survive that first probably hour and a half. It was overcast. There was definitely moisture in the pitch. The ball was swinging a lot. But that line again on off stump where so many bowlers this year, Rabada, Jimmy Anderson, Pat Cummins, so many have attacked him and gotten him out with, again has plagued him. And look, it's been a really lean year for him. He's averaging below 20 for the first time, I think, in 10 years in his test career. So there will be certainly some pressure associated with it. And obviously, he'll be hoping in the second innings he can get a better return.
Yeah, for sure. And then, we had players, of course, getting starts. And I'm saying starts because I feel like if you get to 97, Nikhil, and maybe I'm being too harsh. I'm not batting. I'm not there. I don't understand the conditions. But the West Indian in me and the love for cricket in me wants my players to get centuries. We had Mikhail Louis, of course, putting up that 97. And it was very, very important in the overall total score. And then Athanaze as well with that 90.
Yeah, it is disappointing. When you think about this year in Test cricket, we've only had, the West Indies have only had one single 100, and that was Hodge in England. It's been disappointing that there hasn't been more convergence. It's interesting in the way that we analyze both dismissals. But Louis, that was really surprising because of how much restraint, patience, and discipline he had shown. This is the first time in his Test career that he's actually batted for more than 200 balls. And we just saw today a very intelligent innings in the way that he went about things. But look, credit to Bangladesh. Obviously, they knew it was his first time in the 90s. They made it incredibly tough for him to get to that landmark. And Mahedi switched ends, which he admitted at the end of the day's play. The switch of ends sort of tempted him too much into something he couldn't resist. He tried to take on the spin with the wind and with the spin, and in the end was dismissed even after being dropped on 90. But Athanaze is a bit different because Athanaze was obviously playing that way to get to that 90.
Yeah, and before I pass over to Ricardo, just one quick question. Seeing that you were there and we were not, of course, that important day today, 50 years since Viv made his test debut. Was there anything special that was done in Antigua to, of course, commemorate such a big achievement?
Yeah, we made good note of it on commentary. I think Cricket West Indies have made some arrangements throughout the Test match. But look, it's a huge day and a great place to actually be at the Sir Viv Richards Stadium on a day like today. And not only for him, for Sir Gordon Greenidge as well, who also celebrates 50 years. I mean, those guys are the reason we have this opportunity, and that the West Indies team, every time they step on the field, step on it with such an enhanced legacy.
Yeah, Nikhil, I want to talk about Alec Athanaze, because you look at his first-class record and you realize that there is an issue when he gets into the 80s. We've seen it in Test cricket this year as well, into the 80s and into the 90s, and once again he fails to convert. Now, I thought you made an excellent point just now when you said it's difficult to analyze, because the way he played when he got to 90 was the way that brought him to 90. So what do you say to a young man like that? Because this is a supremely confident player who plays the way he plays. When he got to 81, he played a reverse sweep. I held my head, but that's because I can't reverse sweep. When he got to 90 and he played the sweep shot that eventually got him out, but he had been playing that sweep shot very well throughout the course of the innings. So how do you advise a young man like this who just has this supreme confidence?
Yeah, and I think, Ricardo, it showed today where against Mahedi early in the innings, he played a few aggressive shots and almost was dismissed, and that didn't deter him at all. He just continued to play until he found that right rhythm. I think probably the next stage in his learning, and from what I understand, I haven't spoken to him since, we haven't seen him, but this one was a hard pill to swallow. Obviously, I spoke to him after the 92 in Trinidad, and he was incredibly disappointed, but he would have hoped that learning from the 82 you speak of in England, that this would have been the day. For me, I think probably it's the next phase in his learning and development. We know he has the ability. We know that he's fearless, which is something we haven't seen, as you said, from a lot of Test batters of the West Indies. But when I think about guys like Joe Root in this Bazball era, and the way Joe Root has been able to situationally be very aware, so he's able to play that attacking intent and be attacking. But he has said we can't just always be attacking. There has to be periods where, we are able to absorb a bit and understand the moment and understand the importance of the moment. So maybe he'll reflect on a moment like that where Louis had just gotten out. You're approaching the end of the day, and try to think about the importance of him being there come the end of the day's play. And maybe that sort of just adjusts and alters the way he plays. But look, it's easy to sit here in hindsight and say that. I think we have to be very careful in how we analyze his innings, because without the sweeps, which he played so well today, he was never getting to 90 in the first place. So many will castigate him for the shot selection. But I think let's be very sincere in the way that we think about his innings, given how well he did to first battle a period where he wasn't really in any rhythm at the start, and then really score and pick it up in the middle.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's really difficult, Nikhil, because, sometimes when you are not the one in the moment, and especially, and I say this very carefully, if you haven't played the sport at a particular level, it's very difficult to understand some of these situations, because a lot of it, I think, comes down to, and Faz used the word in the previous segment, confidence, and the confidence of the particular player. The way Brian Lara will approach when he gets to into the 90s might not be the same way that someone like a Darren Ganga might have done it when he got into the 90s, or a Sherwin Campbell would have done it when he got into the 90s, in comparison to how a Chris Gayle would do it, because it comes down to the individual quality of the player and the type of confidence they have to play particular shots in particular moments. And the truth is, sometimes it doesn't come off. But the truth is also that a different approach isn't always a guarantee that it will come off, and a different approach isn't necessarily the best approach for that specific player. And I know I've said a lot, but I just think it's so important for people who watch sport and who watch these moments to understand the difficulties in making those decisions for the players who are in the moment. But enough said on that one. I want to get your thoughts based on what you saw from the surface on day number 1 about the decision by the West Indies to leave out a specialist spinner. We saw quite a bit of spin on day number 1 from the Bangladeshis. A lot of pace bowling as well. By the way, just 84 of the 90 overs bowled on the opening day. But your thoughts, having seen the surface on day 1 about the West Indies not having a specialist spinner?
Yeah, I think, Ricardo, if the surface today is anything to go by going forward in the rest of this test match, Bangladesh will hold a serious advantage. First of all, we have to credit both Taijul and Mahedi. It wasn't the most conducive surface for a spinner today, and still they were able to make great use of it, using the subtle variations. Mahedi used the arm ball well, Taijul Islam uses his pace well, and the different angles of the crease. Probably in hindsight, seeing what happened on day 1, the West Indies will think maybe we missed the trick not having a specialist spinner. However, going on what the curators have told me, they expect that on day 1 it would have turned because of the amount of rain they've had. It's rained every day for the last week there in Antigua, added with the preparation moisture and the sweating of the covers being on for so long like they are now. And they believe as you get deeper into the test match, because of how much grass is on the surface, it will stay together and it won't turn as much. But if I think back to Antigua, it's always been very dry and the spinners have always come into it. So, I mean, this is unprecedented territory. We've never played a test match in West Indies history in October, November or December. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 days. But given how much it turned today, Bangladesh will be licking their lips and hoping they'll get more of that.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing from Mikhail Lewis shortly. But quickly, Nikhil, surely the West Indies should have had a specialist in the 11, even if only as a backup plan, especially because, as it is now, there are 5 seam bowling options.
Well, I asked Craig Brathwaite at the toss what was the reasoning, and his answer was that pace has worked against Bangladesh in the past. The only other time they've not played a specialist spinner in recent times has been against this Bangladesh team 2 years ago. It's a brave decision. It's courageous because of the surface. I thought, given the 5 pace prong attack, that it would have a bit more live green grass. When I got here today, there's grass, but it's not that live green grass, which I don't know how much it assists the pacers off the pitch. They'll get lateral movement, but when the ball does wear off, can the seamers still be able to get enough off the pitch in terms of seam movement? Time will tell. But that's why I think, given that decision has been made, it is very important that the West Indies maximize with the amount of runs they are able to get.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I saw the surface on television this morning as well. It didn't give me the impression that the grass was live and the bowlers were going to get a lot of pace and bounce out of it, but we'll see how things go on. By the way, a fabulous knock from Mikhail Lewis today. You speak about patience, 97 from 218 deliveries. He spent 330 minutes at the crease, struck 9 fours and 1 6, 44.49 his strike rate, and he spoke after the day, 3 short of his maiden test century.
It was an innings of phases. So initially, me and Craig opened the batting, and the pitch had a lot of moisture, so it was a little slow. The ball was nipping a bit and slowing up. So as we got out of that period, me and Kavem had a good partnership. When he had between the wickets, it was unfortunate that he wasn't able to carry on. And then the partnership between me and Alec, that was a partnership of substance. And he guided me in a sense. He has a lot more experience than me, so he was, feeding me information. I just felt like he was leading me on the right path.
Yeah, the first player from St. Kitts and Nevis to represent the West Indies at Test cricket. You've had players from Nevis, but the first one, Mikhail Lewis from St. Kitts, and his fabulous knock really giving West Indies, if they have an advantage, he's the one that has really given them that advantage with his knock. Quick comments, Nikhil, before we close this on what to expect on day number 2, and if anything else on Mikhail Lewis and his fine knock today.
Yeah, just on Louis, I think you're seeing a player who's continuing to progress. Had always been able to bat and get past 30 balls, but not get past 100 balls. It was the first time he's batted over 100 balls in Test cricket. So there's signs there. He said he's going to learn a lot from this and remember this innings as he goes forward. So hoping to see that. And look, for the West Indies, for all the reasons we spoke about, they need at least 350, I would say 400 on this surface. And, Bangladesh are going to come hard tomorrow. They have got 3 pacers who look menacing at different points today. And of course, as we get deeper into this test match, the quality of Taja Islam and Mahedi will come to the fore. So the first innings runs could determine the result of this test match.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to see how day 2 goes. Nikhil, we're going to just take a quick break and come right back. We're keeping you, okay?